Hello everybody, it's time for another Batman miniature game battle report. 350 rep of a Joker crew versus a Bane crew with some outside help. We'll take a look at the teams in a second, and we're going to be playing the third scenario in the rulebook, I believe. We're just kind of going through them in order. Changed up the table a little bit from last time though. I think it looks a lot better, a lot more city-like, I guess. It's kind of like in the aftermath of a battle between Batman and the Penguin, I guess. And the crews are fighting over the spoils left on the battlefield, let's say. That's the setup. Let's go take a look at the crews. So here's the Bane crew, and it's being led by Rebirth Bane. This time I'm going to try and remember his Indomitable, or whatever it's called, plus says buffs for using Venom. He gets some invulnerability, which protects him against damage each turn. Joined by his three ops, Stealth Op, Elite Op, and Dreadnought Op. The Stealth Op has a grapple and a Venom Dose, and the Tomahawk wielding one, which is the Elite. No, he's the Dreadnought, I think. Either way, he also has a Venom Dose. Also, this whole time I've been thinking that Titan and Venom are interchangeable. They are not. They do different things. So, gotta try and remember that. And they're being backed up by Free Agent, Scarecrow from the Terror in Gotham box that comes with Solomon Grundy and Man-Bat. He has no additional equipment, but he hopefully will be pretty good. He can do like fear bubbles, gas attacks. He can force people to take their activation, weird stuff like that. Hopefully going to try and remember it all. Also, I just like the model a lot. So that's the Bane crew. Let's take a look at who they're facing. So with only one exception, this is just the Joker crew bat box that you can get. So it's 350 rep. Only difference is, instead of the Arkham Asylum Joker, because we've seen him getting used and in like the tabletop matches we did as well, we are using the Killing Joke Joker. He's a little bit cheaper, he's a little bit more offensive based because he has a gun rather than exploding teeth. His sidekick is Gaggy, he is called. He can bounce around and release gas. Then he's joined by the clowns, you know, like Dynamite, Whiteface, Buffoon, and and Borgren the Cursed. He also has, I think this one in yellow at the back is Hobo Clown. Then you have Rasta Clown, and Ace of Spades is the one with the assault rifle. So they're going to drown the board in clowns. So we're doing scenario 3, as I said, patrol. There's no set area for objectives, so they just follow the normal rules for the objective types they are. Joker's taking Ace Chemicals, which come in 2s, Joker Canisters, which come in 2s, and an ammo crate. Bane is taking an ammo crate, Riddles, which come in 2 because Scarecrow can instantly solve them rather than having to roll on them, and also a loot to see what happens. So this is, it's basically just you deploy them in a 12-inch corner. Diversion, 3 victory points to any player who has at least one model in the enemy's deployment zone when the game ends. It's Line Breaker, essentially. This model may not be the boss, and nor may they be knocked out. Fair enough. And Noise, 1 victory point to the first player to strike an enemy model. Strike successfully, not even knock out, just you have to land a punch. Alright, that's interesting. So we will set up the board and then take a look at it and get started. Both crews have deployed and placed their objectives, lampposts and sewer gratings as well. We'll just try and give a quick overview here of where everybody is. Scarecrow has the undercover trait, which means he gets to move up to 8 inches away from his deployment zone, but no closer than 4 inches to an objective. I assume that means he's allowed to pass an objective as long as he ends 4 inches away. So he is well outside the deployment zone there. The deployment zone line is basically up to where these two are, so that might not be allowed. Might move him. I'm not sure. That is 8 inches. It's just, are you allowed to pass an objective? It probably won't matter in the long run. Anyway, Joker's 2 Ace Chemicals are there. That is Bane's ammo. And then we have a lamp up here, which is dangerous for the helicopter. The gun-using mercenary is there. Bane's sitting on a sewer grating right at the back again because he's large, so nobody can come up through it. In the middle of the map here, we've got Bane's loot. We've got one of the riddles. The other riddle is well over there. That is Joker's ammo. And then we have one Joker canister all the way over there. The other Joker canister is there. And like we've got a sewer grating there. We've got a sewer grating up in the corner over there. We've got one on the roof here next to 2 deployed clowns who deployed on the roof up here. You're not allowed to put objectives on the roof. The only exception I can think of is the Court of Owls. Then we have Killing Joke Joker with whichever one, Whiteface and... that's Ace of Spades. Ace of Spades is this one. I got it wrong before, it's not the one with the assault rifle. Gaggy counts as large because of his apparatus, so he's also blocking a Sewer Grating here. And then round here, ready to push out to the left flank, we have Bogren the Cursed, Hobo Clown and Dynamite. So that's as things stand. Let's go over to the bag and see who's getting first turn. I'm going to count Joker as green, Bane as pink, just because. And it's pink. So Bane goes first. So with Bane getting first activation, you might wonder why we're on this side of the battlefield. But Bane's crew has 5 models versus Joker's Horde crew having 9, so he has 4 passes. He can't use more than 2 in a row, but he opted to begin his activation phase by using the 2 passes, which I believe is allowed. So Joker had to go instead. First activation for Joker's crew, we're just going to cover both activations now before we go back over to Bane. Bogren the Cursed used all his movement in order to get into base contact with his riddle, however that left him with nothing to attempt to solve it this turn, which may or may not be a good thing. Over here, the next person to go was Rasta Clown, which is the clown with the assault rifle as it turns out, not the one down by Joker. Models are supposed to only have a 12-inch maximum view range, I believe, because Gotham is always supposed to be at night when these things happen. I think the exception is if you're lit up by a lamp, which he was because he was within range of it. So he used his movement to go right to the edge of the building, and that hopefully gives him a chance to take out Bane's sniper before he gets a chance to do anything because he's activated first. Bane has to activate someone now. Let's see who it is. So over this end of the field, Bane opted to activate Stealth Op, who has more than enough movement to make it to the ace chemical canister closest and to manipulate it, so he now has poison on his next attack, which is pretty deadly because the katana is pretty good. Also means he's claiming it for the purposes of when the battle round ends. Ahead of time, also already decided that Bane is now going to use his 2 remaining passes to force Joker to move 2 more clowns first, so we'll cover those in the next clip. So Joker's crew's next 2 activations were Whiteface and Ace of Spades. They both with a little bit of impaired movement to hop over the bumpers of the cars here. They opted to move over here, not quite touching that riddle, so obviously can't manipulate it or do anything, but moving towards the centre of the map. They both also spent a special counter to crouch, so they'll get better ping rolls if they get shot at. Bane has to activate now, and then for the rest of the turn it's back and forwards. So we'll see who they activate in a moment. So to begin Bane's activation, just a quick rule clarification, double checked how it works. If you want to stop a large model, as in they have the large trait, from exiting a sewer that you're standing on, you need 2 large models to counter their weight. So Bane and Gaggy are not countering each other as it stands right now on opposite ends of the table there. Anyway, Bane opted to activate his Elite Op. Elite is the one with the gun, yes. Elite Op who ain't scared of no light and decided to move over here. Forgot to put 1 attack counter available to try and destroy the lamp. So he is crouching next to it. It's going to provide a ping roll. Double check the rules as well, and yes, if you're illuminated by a light, it ignores the 12 inches max view for models. So he's in a bit of a spot of bother, but he will get ping rolls for sure from there, assuming Joker activates his clown on the next activation first. The one over there, it's kind of just looking at him with an assault rifle saying hi. So now it is Joker's turn to activate a model. Joker activated Hobo Clown next, who was originally there. He used all the movement available to him to start moving towards the ammo canister over there. Definitely missed a trick not sending Bogren the Cursed after that. His movement probably would have been enough to get in contact with the ammo crate, and as we all know already, ammo crates give good victory points. So sadly he's not going to get anything this turn. Of course he can next turn, but wasted opportunity there, should have thought that through more. The Tomahawk wielding Dreadnought Op moved next, and with a little bit of impaired movement to hop over the wall. He made it easily though, he has 3 max movement counters. He moved into contact with the ace chemicals, he crouched behind it and he activated it, so his first physical attack also has the poisoned roll. Good luck remembering, but we'll certainly try. And now back over to Joker. Man himself, Joker from the Killing Joke activated, and he followed where Ace of Spades and Whiteface basically went, down the middle. Bit intimidating to have the 3 models there considering they've got grenades and 2 guns between them, or at least 2 guns between them. So might not be a good idea to meet them head on, and that's kind of what they're trying to take advantage of, because a lot of the objectives can be reached from the middle wreckage over here. We'll see how Bane reacts. Caw and Scarecrow moved next. Wasn't close enough to get into do Inspire Fear, it only has a 4-inch range. So he opted instead to kind of hide here next to Sir Grating, so that gives him some freedom of movement next activation if he wishes. To see what he wants to do once the clowns start pouring into the middle of the map. Means he's not holding anything or able to do much else. Need to get out of the habit of never putting attack counters on people in turn 1, especially if you know they're going to be next to a lamp. It would have been very beneficial to smack that lamp, get rid of the light, but he can't. So he has moved, he's in position. All that's left to move for Joker's crew is Gaggy, I think? No, Gaggy and Buffoon, whereas Bane still just has himself. So we'll see what happens. Buffoon the Clown activated next, and he was up on this roof before. He went to the sewer grating, he activated the sewer grating, and now he is all the way down there. Oh, please zoom in. There we are. So he's in the back line. He's not particularly threatening. The idea here is hopefully he'll just be ignored to maybe snatch those 3 or 4 victory points for being in the enemy deployment at the end of the game. That's a long way away, but it was somewhere to move him. So now Bane's crew has to activate Bane, and then Joker still has Gaggy the Clown left to go. If nothing else, Bane is a man of action, and he's taking advantage of 2 large models not blocking the sewer grating way inside, well, definitely in Joker's deployment. He isn't allowed to do anything, but he is right next to Gaggy, and also totally forgot about Dynamite there, who hasn't had a turn yet. Again, forgetting how many people the Joker crew has. Very dangerous putting him there, might be a mistake, but definitely going to mean that there's some action in Battle Round 2. Anyway, Joker has to move his 2 clowns now, so we'll come back with a recap of both their turns. So at the end of Battle Round 1, before we do the points tallies and any recoveries, although there's no recoveries, Gaggy does have an attack he's able to do, even though he doesn't have any dice in attack. He can do a little hop on his little gas-expelling pile driver thingy there. So he bounces to a new location within 8, although he still wants to be close to Bane, so he just kind of popped over there. And any models within 4 inches have to do an endurance test or take 1 blood and enervating 1. Bane passed his endurance. I guess that's the benefit of having 10 HP. So that was no effect. And then Dynamite moved back to kind of just try and do something to hold Bane at bay. Obviously there's a lot of clowns over here who can come back and have something to say about it, but we'll see what happens. So now we're going to recap Battle Round 1, add up the points, and then see who's going first activation in Battle Round 2. As things stand at the end of Battle Round 1, Bane is holding 2 Ace Chemical Vats for 1 victory point each. Although Joker is in base-to-base contact with one of the Riddler trophies, he couldn't solve it this turn, so it awards nothing because you have to solve it to get anything out of it. And the objective, or the bonus objectives for the scenario for Patrol don't come into play yet at all, because one comes in at the last battle round or at the end of the game. The other one, no one threw a punch. Gaggy's attack does not count as throwing a punch in close combat, so basically it's a free victory point to whoever swings first in the next turn. And on that note, let's see if it's going to be a Joker activation first turn or a Bane one. It is Joker in Battle Round 2. We're probably going to be spending a lot of time over here in Battle Round 2, but Gaggy went first for Joker in the start of the battle round. Also, as far as I'm aware, you have to announce Venom dose usage at the Raise the Plan phase before the turn begins proper. So Bane did use one of the... Sorry, just knocked the table and one of the cars over there moved slightly. Spooky. He used one of the 2 Venom doses he starts the game with, which gives him +1 strength and reroll damage rolls, and also because he has Venom in Rage, it gives him +2 invulnerability, which basically just means he negates 2 stun or 2 blood. Gaggy only got 1 blood through, so he's perfectly fine and still has 1 invulnerability left. We'll see if he chooses to retaliate now or later, as Bane goes first for, or his first activation for Battle Round 2. Quick addendum that in the act of just throwing a punch at Bane, that gives Joker the secondary objective for the patrol scenario, so that is +1 victory point. Bane did indeed opt to activate first for his side this time. Also forgot to cover his I will break you role, where you get to pick out of one of 3 roles. Picked Close Combat Master because it's the best one by far, in my opinion. So he got to reroll his hits thanks to Close Combat Master. He got to reroll his missed damage rolls thanks to him being Venom Enraged. Or just Venom Dosed, I guess is the way to say it. He had everything put into attack, and his attack maxes out at 6. So Gaggy did not put up much defense. In total he got through 2, 4, 6. He got through 8 stun damage thanks to his reinforced gloves, and he also did a knockdown, but the knockdown is irrelevant because Gaggy got knocked out. So he's down and out. He is a sidekick, so that's going to give up a lot of points at the end of the round. Hopefully they'll be able to retaliate now as we go to Joker's next activation. Dynamite activated next, and he did really well for just being a low-class henchman. That's the word I was blanking on. He can also explode himself when he wants to. Was almost going to do that, but just decided to take a swing with his handy axe. And he got a lot of damage through. He got 2 blood through, I think. No, sorry, he got 2 blood through twice. Plus additional stun on the collateral dice. Now, Bane had 1 invulnerability left, and he opted to use that on one of the blood. So he has taken 3 blood and 1 stun. Opted to do it that way because the stun can regenerate naturally. So he is hurting though. It's a big surprise. Dynamite really pulled his weight there in terms of like rep difference. On to Bane's next activation. For Bane's next turn, the Elite Op activated, and instead of trying to shoot anybody, he opted to remove a problem by smacking just with his fists the lamp. As long as you get a hit through, lamps are counted as defense 2+, so it's not hard to do. He smashed the lamp and is now covered in darkness because it's Gotham. So now the clown on the opposing building, I don't think they're within 12 inches of each other, so now it's no longer a case of just taking pot shots at the guy lit up by the lamp. He then also spent a special counter in order to crouch, but he couldn't do anything else this turn. Killing Joker went next. He backtracked because he moved the rate of fire of his surprisingly powerful pistol and dropped to 1. He took a shot at Bane and missed the hit, so it didn't even cause just a scratch either. But he moved back, putting some pressure on Bane, and he has 1 more shot with that gun left. We'll see if it comes into play later. Now moving back to Bane's side, see what they do. Bane's next activation, and where's Scarecrow gone? Well, if we do a panoramic shot here, all the way over, this is getting to be a very busy corner, because the Dynamite Man is just a normal sized gentleman. Scarecrow could pop out there, so he has done so. He can't do anything. Actually, that's not true. No, I think it specifically says you can't do anything. It's not just a case of you can't attack, because I was going to say, oh, he could inspire fear. Going to have to wait till next turn. But yeah, things are getting real busy down here. Whiteface activated next and followed in the footsteps of Joker to backtrack and take a pot shot at Bane with a rate of fire 1. Would have been a hit, unfortunately, because his blunderbuss has the imprecise rule. It's -1 to hit. So the hit didn't land, so didn't get the chance to do the 2+ roll to wound because of its firearm rule. Unfortunately, he got very unlucky. Bane, on the other hand, got very lucky, and now it's between Stealth Op and Dreadnought Op for who goes next. Bane's side opted to use 2 passes in a row, such as their rights, so we have to cover 2 Joker crew turns real quick. They both involve solving the riddles that weren't meant to be theirs. So Ace of Spades here moved up and attempted this one. He got a 6, which normally, if it was his objective, would have got them 4 victory points, but because they have a -1, it drops down to just a normal solution, so he gets 2 victory points. Over here, Borgrin the Cursed, who totally forgot to move after solving the riddle, he got the, he failed to solve it, but nothing bad happened, so it awarded no points and is gone now. He's just going to move up behind that bit of machinery there in order to start aiming for that Joker canister. Totally forgot to move him afterwards. But that's 2 turns down. Bane has to activate now. Stealth Op moved next and opted to leave the safety of the Ace Chemicals barrel to the safety of the ammo cache. He's now claiming it. He did not use it, however, because he doesn't have a gun. But he also spent a special to crouch behind it to give him a better ping roll, just in case he has some shots coming in at him. So he's just holding that for a good 3 victory points if he's still there at the end of the battle round. Bane opted to throw in another pass, so just a very quick kind of last 2 activations for Joker's crew, really. Hobo Clown moved up to claim but did not activate the ammo cache right there for Joker's side. Now Rasta Clown up here, no one is within 12 inches of his assault rifle, so all he could do is crouch. He doesn't want to leave this vantage point because he's hoping it'll pay off later. It might. So he's just crouching. I believe that just leaves Mr. Tomahawk Dreadnought Op to go. Oh, not at all actually, there's Buffoon over there, so we will have 1 more Joker activation after Bane's final one for this battle round. Right, wrapping up the last 2 activations of this battle round 2. The operative here, the Dreadnought Op, opted to switch from one Ace Chemicals barrel to the other, just so he's still gaining the same amount. Essentially conga lining objectives with the Stealth Op is the plan. In response, the final Joker activation, Buffoon over here, he moved into contact with the Joker canister there, which I believe is another 1 victory point. We'll find out in a second. However, when he next activates, there's a chance the canister will go off and damage him. Even if he's part of Joker's crew, that still happens, I believe. So, we'll be doing the recount and round up a battle round 2 next. So at the end of battle round 2, Bane did not recover his stun, and Gaggy did not wake up from being unconscious, unfortunately. As far as new victory points, Joker got 2 for solving a riddle, he got 1 for holding a Joker canister, he got 3 for holding an ammo cache, and I believe that is everything. Bane got 1 for an ace chemicals, 3 for holding the ammo, and 2 for knocking out a sidekick, which I believe makes it 7 plays 6, or maybe it's 8 plays 7. Either way, in favour of Bane by 1 point. As now we'd see who's going to go first for Battle Round 3. It's perfectly even in terms of who is likely to get it here. Let's see. Pick this one. It is going to be Joker. I guess first activation. Interesting. So at the start of Battle Round 3, Bane opted to use his 1 remaining Venom dose again, which gives him 2 invulnerability plus 1 strength, rerolls to hit, etc. But for first activation, Joker went and he activated himself, of course. He fired his 1 remaining chance to shoot his very, very damaging pistol. Kinda whiffed a little bit. In fact, he missed entirely, although he got through the hit rolls rather, he just failed to wound. So he did 2 stun thanks to just a scratch roll. Bane opted not to use the invulnerability to negate those since it's just stun damage, which presumably is allowed. I'm going to have to reread the rule actually, because if it says it has to be the first 2 bits of damage, then... In fact, I'm almost certain now that I've said that that's what it does. He wanted to hold off and use them against blood, but I don't think that's allowed, so... Negated the damage done by Joker, but that's his invulnerability for the turn gone. Let's see if Bane decides to go stomp someone's face. Venom Enraged is absolutely correct as Bane just hurtled forward, smashing into Whiteface and killing Joker. Put every one of his attacks on Joker, did in total 10 stun plus a knockdown. This Joker has 8 endurance, I believe it is. Either way, it's definitely not 10. He is knocked out. He's also still in base-to-base contact with Whiteface, so Whiteface can't shoot his gun at full rate of fire. He would have to back off and fire it. So it's his best chance for survival, basically. As obviously a leader KO'd, he's still alive. So, like Gaggy, he could potentially wake up. That is going to give a lot of points at the battle round end, though. Now we'll see how Joker's crew reacts to their crew leader being sprawled out over the hood of a car unconscious. Good old Dynamite activated next for Joker's crew. He isn't able to chase Bane and attack him. If you're wondering, it's because Bane is large, so he had the extra movement just without having to spend movement counters. Dynamite over here was expecting a big brawl, so didn't put anything in movement, just attack and defense. So with nothing else better to do, he took a chance and attacked Scarecrow. Scarecrow has Charming, which means you have to pass a willpower roll, which is rolling under your willpower on 2 dice, and henchmen do not have a lot of willpower, so Dynamite was enamoured by the nice looking Scarecrow there and the very, very sharp scythe. Just kind of smiled at him and decided not to attack, perhaps to his chagrin, as we see who activates next. Scarecrow has plenty of time to plot his revenge, so the Elite Op decided to go instead. He couldn't quite see Buffoon down there from his angle, so he had to move, which dropped his rate of fire to 1. And even though Buffoon has defense of 2, he rolled a 1 when trying to hit with his 1 rate of fire, so he missed. What a waste of a shot. And now he's kind of exposed. He did spend a special to crouch, which may or may not help, because it is a bit of a strange angle that might impart a ping roll if indeed Buffoon decides to shoot back with his nail gun, we'll see. But yeah, wasted turn for the Elite Op. Maybe he shouldn't have started up on that building. Joker's crew's having the same problem, honestly, with his assault rifle on the roof. It's the 12-inch maximum range that's doing it without the lampposts benefiting them. Face went next for Joker also. Sorry, I've been totally forgetting to put the results of each combat next to the models. I've started doing that again now. He backed off his final remaining shot with his blunderbuss with rate of fire 1 because he moved. Did well, managed to get Bane, got a 6 on the collateral die as well. 2 blood, 2 stun. That puts Bane at 8, I think? Yeah, 8. So he has 2 endurance left, which is not a good place for the leader to be. We'll see what happens. For Bane, the Stealth Op activated and used his grapple gun in order to shoot right into, we'll zoom in a little bit, Buffoon, and also contesting the Joker canister there. Only managed to do 2 blood to him, which is a little bit disappointing considering his katana is handy and sharp. Also remember, he doesn't usually have the grapple gun. That was equipment bought for him with extra funding. But they are locked in combat now, so Buffoon would have to back off if he wants to shoot his nail gun. I think it has assault 3, so it would still fire 3 times. It's not very damaging though. But they are now over there. That's obviously the ammo canister. They are not held, but the idea will obviously be that the Dreadnought moves up onto it. We'll see though. Was hoping for a knockdown, didn't get it. Now to Joker. Ace of Spades activated next, and he used all his movement available in order to get into base to base with the Bane loot objective. Didn't have enough left over to claim it, so that doesn't count for anything. He has to pick it up to get any particular points from that one, as you'll know if you've seen previous battle reports. He opted not to go back and help because the grenades he's equipped with don't actually do physical damage, to do like poison and enervating and things like that. So he opted to go for a claim because once he has the loot, if he just keeps on running, they're not going to catch him. And perhaps expected, but as Bane's next activation rolled around, the Dreadnought Op moved from the Ace Chemicals. Also totally forgot he had poison, which means that Buffoon has poison 1, which I think doesn't kick in until the end of the activation, but we'll double check that between recordings now. Anyway, he is claiming and crouching behind the Amel and Penguin's vehicle there. Now it's back to Joker, who still has quite a few people who can activate. Bogren the Cursed went next and just moved up to claim that Joker gas canister. Bane's turn was a pass, and so Hobo Clown went and just crouched behind the ammo crate. Bane then passed again, which I think is his last he's allowed now based on the difference between models who are still conscious. Rasta Clown up here just decided to stand still. He could have moved to maybe get a line of sight of Bane, kind of like if he was right teetering on the edge here. It didn't seem plausible though, so opted not to do it. So again, much like the Elite Op over there, he's doing nothing. He is covering the centre, making it hard to do anything in it, but nothing much else. So I think it's just Buffoon left to activate. Yeah, it is. Oh wait, no, sorry, Buffoon and Scarecrow. So Scarecrow first and then Buffoon. Where's Jonathan Crane gone? Well, he used his scythe on poor Dynamite, got 4 blood, which was enough to kill, or sorry, make Dynamite into a casualty. Dynamite has a rule where if he ever takes damage on a natural roll of a 6, his Dynamite triggers and he explodes, which he can do optionally as well, as we discussed earlier. Didn't roll a 6, so he's on the floor, he is dead, casualty, whatever, and then Scarecrow was able to move. He has a rule which is like he has a special base, so he has +1 to movement even though he's not huge. So he covered 5 inches, he's moving up the side here, hoping probably to say hello to Hobo Clown in the near future. So now it's down to what Buffoon is going to do. Checked into the poison roll, and he has to pass a roll at the start of his activation or take a blood at the end of his activation. He also has to see if he gets damaged from the gas that he is next to. Let's see what happens. Interesting little altercation at the end of Battle Round 3. The way Joker canisters work is if a model activates within 2 inches, they have to do a willpower roll, and if they fail it, they take 1 blood. Buffoon failed his endurance roll, so took a blood, which is why that dice is there, or die is there rather, putting him on 1 health remaining. The way poison works is you have to pass an endurance roll or you take 1 damage at the end of the turn. He passed his endurance roll, so he got over the poison, so it did nothing. Because he didn't want to move away and let the Stealth Op claim the objective, he opted just to use his fists. He did. He got 1 stun and with a roll of a 6, and he got a 6 on the collateral, so they both matched and got a critical as far as I understand, so that's 1 extra stun, which is why the 2 is there, and knocked Stealth Op over. He isn't knocked out, he isn't a casualty, he's simply just knocked over. So he can stand up, and I believe he still counts as contesting because he is conscious. So we'll be back in a second with the recap of the turn. So at the end of Battle Round 3, Bane recovered from 1 of his stun markers. The Stealth Op did not. Joker did not wake up, so he's still unconscious. And Gaggy did wake up, so he will be able to do something in Battle Round 4. As far as victory points, 4 victory points to Bane for knocking out Joker. 2 for making Dynamite a casualty. Which is, well, sorry, for making him KO. 1 for the casualty, 1 for the knockout. And in terms of objectives, ammo for Bane, and in terms of objectives for Joker, ammo for Joker, and 1 gas canister, because the other gas canister is contested and the loot was not picked up. So Bane still has a sizable lead. I think it's something like 17 playing 11, but obviously he is very wounded. Gaggy's back up and awake, or will be on his next turn. It is in Bane's favour to get first activation though, as we reach into the bag here, shuffle them around a little bit, pull it out. Oh, it's Joker going first in Battle Round 4, which means Bane is definitely going first in the final 2 turns after that. Let's see what happens. So to start Battle Round 4, Joker got first turn, or first activation rather, again. Gaggy opted to stand up with his exceptionally wounded, limp body, spent a counter to stand up, and then he shuffled over to the Surgrain and he ran away bravely. All the way over here, so despite being heavily injured, he does have a purpose because he is inside Bane's deployment, which is 4 victory points if he's still there at the end of the game. So that seemed like the smartest thing to do with someone so heavily wounded rather than letting them get knocked out again or potentially killed. So now we're on to seeing what Bane does. Scarecrow activated for Bane, and he moved up as close as he could get with the movement he allotted. His scythe has reach though, so he just needs to be within 2 inches to take a swing at someone. He spent 2 special counters to do Inspire Fear. He only got the lowest result, which was just Scared, which means that Hobo Clown there can't use dodging ranged attacks, he can't crouch, and he gets a -1 to hit rolls and defensive rolls. Scarecrow kind of whiffed a little bit with his actual attacks though, only got 2 blood through, which puts Hobo Clown on half health because he's just a weak little henchman. I'm not sure whether or not Scarecrow counts as contesting because he is far away, he's not base to base with the objective. So Hobo might just sacrifice himself in order to get 3 victory points at the end of a turn, we'll see. Well, Joker's next activation, Buffoon, certainly lived up to his name. He activated, had to do the roll for being within 2 inches of the Joker canister, and he failed his roll and took 1 bleed, which is all he had left, so he is dead. Presumably that still awards the points to Bane's side, even though it was technically Joker that killed him. I'm sure Joker found it hilarious, but that was a wasted activation as a result. Stealthop opted to activate next for Bane's side, and he stood up. He also had to take a willpower test, and he also failed it, so he took 1 bleed. That's leaving him on 2 endurance, but he is still claiming that objective. He opted not to move and is just going for the points, which may or may not be a mistake. We'll see what happens. Ace of Spades activated next. He picked up the loot that was standing next to him, even though it belongs to Bane, and he's kind of stuck about where to move, because if he moves any further forwards, in fact he might already have made the mistake of being within 12. We'll check that, but he wanted to move away from Scarecrow, wanted to move away from Bane, so he opted to move towards Borgrin for hopefully some defense, holding on to that loot. Either way, it's very unlikely he'll die by the end of this turn, which will get some more victory points, and Joker is looking to catch up here. So maybe that was the right thing to do, maybe not, we'll see. Well, there was a catastrophic error, because moving where he did, Ace of Spades put himself within 12 inches of the Elite Ob up here, who had 1 last shot left. He used it and he didn't move, and there was nothing intervening in line of sight, so he took his shots, and he got a good result on the collateral dice as well, matched one of the wound rolls. He did 6 blood and 1 stun, so unfortunately Ace of Spades, who only has I think 4 HP, yeah, 4 HP, he's dead. The loot is moved, but it's now just free and is not going to give up any points. That was just a genuine dumb mistake, unfortunately. Face activated next, and he did have a choice. He's out of ammunition for his blunderbuss, so he could technically have rushed at Bane to try and take out Bane's remaining HP just in fisticuffs. But that seemed like a fool's errand, so instead he has backed off to touch that sewer grating to potentially teleport next turn. But also, if Bane wants to go get him, he's going to have to reveal himself to the sniper, who might finally get a chance to do something. Whether or not that's the case, we shall see. A few quick activations to cover in one go here. Bane activated the Dreadnought Op and opted to just have him crouch behind the ammo to claim it. In return, Joker activated Hobo Clown, who's just going to take the hit from Scarecrow most likely next turn, and he crouched next to the ammo to claim it. Well, sorry, he didn't crouch because there's no point, because he's scared. Bane used a pass, of which he has less now thanks to the difference between squads only being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, so that's the only one he's getting. Hang on, how far did we get there? Dreadnought Op, Hobo Clown, 1 pass, which went back to Joker. Joker moved Borgrin the Cursed, coming after Scarecrow, and also to just try and back up Hobo Clown at this point. So Bane has to activate now, and then that leaves just Rasta Clown up here for Joker after that. So for Bane's activation, he opted to coup de grace Joker, because keep in mind Joker was technically still on the floor right in front of him, put him on the car bonnet for dramatic effect. He very easily used his 6 dice, converted a lot of stun into bleed, killed Joker. Forgot to mention at the top though, but from the Joker box, Joker once again had the Why So Serious, because it's free apparently, so I don't understand why you wouldn't take it. Which means he awards no additional points for being made a casualty. He gives up more for being knocked out, which he's already given, but at least he doesn't give up an extra 1 or 2 from being flat out killed. Bane then moved next to the sewer grating. He's in Joker's deployment, so he probably just wants to stay there and lick his wounds, because he is quite wounded still. So that just leaves Rasta Clown, who is not able to see or do anything really, so he's just going to stand there, unfortunately. So we'll be back with the recap. So at the end of this battle round, Bane did not recover a stun, rather. Stealthop did. There was no one to wake up for the Joker's side because they've all been made casualties on the floor. In terms of objectives, Bane has the ammo crate, has the Joker canister, and that is it. Joker has just the ammo canister because the loot was lost, and he abandoned the other Joker canister in order to try and save the ammo because the ammo was worth more. Bane still has a comfortable lead going into the next turn. We know that Bane is going first in the next 2 turns because that's all the tokens left, but just as proof, Bane will be going first in battle round 5. Scarecrow activated first again this battle round, and he did his Inspire Fear. This time the Inspire Fear was lost by a lot, so Hobo Clown got Terror as well as Scared, or Terror 2, which means he loses 2 of his counters. He only had 2 because he was already wounded. Scarecrow then easily did 2 bleed, 1 stun. Hobo Clown unfortunately is dead. Scarecrow is now claiming the ammo. He tried to move around a little bit in also a way that still kind of blocks the sight from up here, hoping that Bogren won't reach him. Of course he will reach him, but let's see what happens. Sick of doing nothing the entire game, Rasta Clown activated. He moved, so his rate of fire dropped to 1, but he wanted to take some pot shots at Scarecrow. Sadly he missed, so he wasn't able to do anything at all. So now we're right over to Bane's next activation. Things going much quicker now, there's a lot less clowns on the field. For Bane's next activation, the Stealth Up activated. He took another bleed from being next to the Joker canister, and he thought, I've had enough of this. He used his grapple gun, went over to the loot by just latching onto it, and he had enough to pick it up as well, so he's now claiming the loot. It is on his person. He didn't do anything else after that. Bogren the Curse activated next, and he went right into Scarecrow's face to contest the ammo crate there. To make a charmed roll, you have to roll under your willpower on 2 dice. Had it been an endurance roll, like the gas canisters, it would have been fine, because rolling under 10 on 2 dice is pretty easy. Sadly, he had to roll under 7, was it? Or 5? Where's his card? It's 5. He couldn't do the attack. Scarecrow is just too charming to these clowns. He is at least contesting, but he wasn't able to unleash his 4 stompy, very damaging attacks on Scarecrow. So next, without anything better to do, the Elite opted to use the, I need to keep what I stopped doing, opting for ops. But anyway, opted to jump down the building here. So as far as I understand it, the leap down command, at least if you're going from here to here and then from here to here, you just use your basic move plus any movement counters, and as long as you don't exceed the distance, you don't need to roll on the fall damage table, which is what he did. That did mean, however, he wasn't able to get into base to base with the ammo crate, which was his intention because the building was so tall. But I think did that correctly. Either way, he's just kind of there because he has no ammo left, so there's nothing for him to do but go to ammo and at the very least maybe claim it, which will let the Dreadnought Op do something else in the final turn. As far as people still to go, who do we have left at this point? We have Whiteface for Joker, and I think, oh, and Gaggy, I keep forgetting he's up there in the corner, and then Bane. I believe so. We might just do all 3 of those quickly because I have a feeling 2 out of the 3 at the very least are doing absolutely nothing. Whiteface decided to be a little brave and use as much movement as he could muster to head towards Stealth Hub, because Stealth Hub is actually pretty hurt, but he has no ammo left, so he's just trying to get into base to base, didn't quite manage it, so there's no fisticuffs to happen. Bane is opting to stand still, Dreadnought Op is opting to stand still, Gaggy is opting to stand still, so now it just comes down to the end of turn recap. So at the end of the penultimate battle round, Bane did not recover from a stun, neither did Stealth Up, and neither did Gaggy. In terms of objectives, Bane holds the ammo and 1 loot. Scarecrow also killed a henchman, so that's another 2 victory points there. In terms of Joker, the ammo in his part is contested. Bogren and Scarecrow are both contesting it, so that one's awarding points to nobody. And they didn't do anything else, so they got no points there. I think it's literally impossible for Joker to make this back, but we're just going to quickly play the last battle round anyway. We know, obviously. We come over here, the last marker in the bag has to be Bane. He'll be going first in the next turn. So it just comes down to the final turn and what points can be scrounged. It's going to be a fairly quick kind of jump cut recap of the final battle round because there's not much to be done. There's really only 2 important things. It's whether or not Scarecrow and Bogren can kill each other, or with the help of Rasta Clown up there with his final shot, or whether or not the Whiteface can knock out Stealth Op just to deny a point. Those are the only 2 that matter other than doing a quick recap of movement. Obviously Gaggy's going to stand still to get the 4 victory points at the end of the match, as is Bane. So Scarecrow went first, and he didn't put any counters into Inspire Fear because he knows Bogren hurts, so he had 4 defense dice. He did 4 blood to Bogren, he has 10 HP, so he's totally fine. Bogren hit back, didn't do anything to Scarecrow, so they're totally at stalemate. That means nobody's claiming that ammo and will not be at the end of the game either. So this is going to be the final kind of recap of the activations. Rasta Clown activated, totally forgot about Scarecrow's charming roll. Bogren never should have got the chance to attack him as he failed the charming roll. Rasta Clown up here, he saw the back of Scarecrow's head and just thought, wow, that is a wonderful looking hat. And as a result also failed his charming role and could not shoot at him. So Whiteface, he went into combat with Stealthop, wasn't able to hurt him. Stealthop had everything in defense anticipating this, so he's not able to attack back anyway, so it doesn't matter. Whiteface can't be knocked out and or killed. In terms of just like last minute shuffling, Dreadnought Op and Elite Op kind of swap positions so that the Ace Chemicals VAT could be held as well. And that is going to be it for the final very quick battle round. We're just going to come back for the recap of scores. So perhaps obviously at the end of the game, Joker's horde band of clowns just could not withstand the elite forces of Bane's crew. The final score, to embarrass Joker's crew slightly, I believe, hang on, need to read my little tally. Joker had 18 victory points, Bane had 39 victory points. Also I feel a sneeze brewing that I'm going to have to edit out most likely. Oh yeah, that was a good sneeze. In terms of, that includes the, obviously the points we've been adding up thus far, but the end of game points, 4 points to Bane for being in Joker's deployment, 4 points for Gaggy, and as a result Joker's crew for him being in Bane's deployment. Obviously we have the ammo, we have the Ace Chemicals, we have the loot. This ammo crate was contested, so there was no points from objectives other than the scenario objective for Joker there. In terms of the Terror in Gotham Scarecrow, he's really fun. That Charmed role, which I think, I'm not sure who else has it. Poison Ivy has it for sure. Maybe Catwoman? It's a pain to deal with if you send henchmen. Know for the future, don't send henchmen or people with low willpower anyway after Scarecrow, because he's just too charming. You've got to send someone who can withstand the charm and withstand the fear as well that he's liable to put out. If he opts to put a lot into defense or attack, it doesn't leave him with a lot of room for special. I do also have a query about his rules, because he has a rule that gives him +1 special. Does that mean he gets +1 cap, or does that mean that even if he puts nothing in special, he still technically has 1, because he gets a bonus 1? I'm not 100% sure on that. It didn't matter for the outcome of this. In terms of what's next, we'll probably use this layout of map, because I like it, for one more match. We'll work up a couple of crews to throw them against each other, then I'm going to have to clean this away to do some 40k. But Batman will return, and we'll be doing some Tabletop Simulator matches as well. If you're not interested in any of the gaming content I do, just follow the playlists for Batman and or 40k, and you can just check those to see if I've uploaded anything that you're into. Anyway, thank you very much for your support. By all means, point out any rules you think might be missed or incorrectly interpreted, and I will see you next time. Ta-ta for now.